Welcome back to part 3 of my book series of influence. If you haven't seen part 1 or 2, check them out as they go into depth on the first 4 rules of influence. In this part, we'll be going more into depth on the next 2 rules of influence. I am confident you'll be even more astounded by these rules than the last 4. What is up, YouTube? My name is Aidan Helfant. I am a freshman Cornell University student who makes videos on life advice as well as learning and fitness. Just like in the last 2 parts, I will first talk about the rule and its effects and then give some actionable tips on how you can defend yourself against the rule in the future. The rule of scarcity. The scarcity rule causes us to act with uncharacteristic emotion when something becomes scarce. One way this takes form is in our perception of the value of an item. The simple fact that an item is more scarce makes it worth much more in our eyes. A cookie study designed by Robert Cialdini himself portrays this idea perfectly. The study was done by taking a participant into a room and showing them a jar of cookies. Cialdini asked the participants to eat and rate the cookies in the jar in front of the researchers. Some patients got a jar that held 10 cookies, while others got one with only 2. Interestingly, despite no other differences in the cookies other than their number, participants who ate cookies from the 2 cookie jars generally rated them higher than the 10 cookie jars. The participants rated the cookies on scarcity rather than taste alone. Further variations of the study showed 2 more interesting facts about the power of the rule of scarcity. First, Cialdini discovered that the rule of scarcity is most likely to hold under 2 conditions. Scarce items are more likely to hold when they are newly scarce. In a second variation of the study, some participants were given the 10 cookie jar and then switched to the 2 cookie jars after being told there was a mistake. This was the recently scarce group. The other group, however, the constant scarcity group, were still only given 10 cookies to act as the control. Interestingly, those in the recently scarce group rated the cookies as higher than the constant scarcity group. The second condition that enhances scarcity is when items have become scarce from the competition with others. In a third variation of the cookie study, some participants in the recently scarce group learned they had been reduced to 2 cookies because some of theirs were dispersed to other study participants. The people in this new group rated the cookies by far the best out of every group. The rule of scarcity is so powerful for one major human phenomenon. Daniel Kahneman, a prominent psychologist, recently promoted the idea of loss aversion in his prospective theory. Loss aversion is the idea that people are more driven by the idea of losing an item of value than by gaining it. This concept is what makes the rule of scarcity so influential in our everyday decisions. According to the theory, when free choice is limited or threatened, our desire to maintain our freedom makes us want them significantly more than before. This idea of loss aversion has been a central cornerstone of history. If you look back upon when major revolutions or upbringings have occurred, it's seldom in areas where strife and poverty have gone on for a prolonged period of time. Often, revolutions occur in places that get hit by hard times, coming from a time of peace and prosperity. Loss aversion drives people to get back what they remember they had just moments before. Defense. Just like with the other 4 rules, you shouldn't try and actively defend against the rule of scarcity. When something is becoming scarce, it often means it won't be around that long. It makes sense that we would have a heightened wanting for items such as this. However, there is a trick that we can use as a backup. Scarcity pressures have a very emotion-arousing effect on their participants. To defend, we might try and recognize when we feel these emotionally arousing feelings as an indication of scarcity. Then, once we have become aware of our reaction, we can take steps to calm ourselves and assess the merits of possessing the scarce thing as they indeed are. The rule of consistency. Consistency states that humans have an overwhelming need to stay consistent with their actions, beliefs, and commitment. There are two reasons why consistency is generally a good thing in society. First, society values good personal consistency. People believe consistent people have a heart of logic, rationality, stability, and honesty. Those who are inconsistent, however, seem confused, two-faced, and even mentally ill. Second, a consistent approach offers a valuable shortcut through the complexity of modern existence. When you stay consistent with your beliefs and decisions, you don't have to think as hard about daily life. Instead of constantly rethinking or reevaluating your choices, you can stick with what you said or did in the past. However, this stubborn consistency can be used against us in a variety of ways. One such case was shown in a study conducted by Cialdini and his colleagues, university students. The goal was to get them to agree to participate in a thinking process study using the lowball technique. The lowball technique works by getting someone to agree to something by entering with a lowball or a small portion of the information. After they have agreed, you share the rest of the information that might have made them say no to your original offer if told beforehand. Only 24% of students decided to participate when called and immediately informed of a 7 a.m. start time in the study. If the 7 a.m. start time was not spoken about, 56% of the students agreed to participate. It was only after they had already agreed that the time was given to the unfortunate students. By the rule of consistency, 95% still appeared to the start time of 7 a.m. nonetheless. Jack Stanko, a used car salesman, also used consistency to his advantage. While leading a session called Used Car Merchandising, he told about his strategy to 100 sales-hungry dealers as follows. First, he told them to ask the customer if they would buy the car right after you had shown it to them, as long as the price was right. He said that if you got this agreement on paper, by the rule of consistency, they would feel obligated to buy the car when the actual price was told. Toys manufacturers sometimes utilize this same strategy. After the holidays, many toy manufacturers struggle to keep sales up because no parent wants to spend money on their children after the insanity of Christmas. Some big toy companies devise an incredibly clever strategy to bypass this issue. They start before Christmas with attractive TV ads on certain special toys. Kids all over the world get their parents to promise them the toys for Christmas. As soon as Christmas hits, however, all of these special toys are pulled from the shelves. It's only after the holidays are over that the toys are put back up on display. Of course, parents feel obligated to get their kids the toy they had promised them before Christmas. Defense. Of course, like the other 5 rules, consistency shouldn't be actively defended against. Most of the time, it helps us out by making decisions in our lives easier and more manageable. We can look out for 2 signs to help defend against its negatives: stomach signs and heart signs. Stomach signs are used before commitments when we recognize in the moment we are being pulled to do something that we don't want to do. Heart signs get used afterward when we honestly ask ourselves if we would do something again. If we have a gut reaction that we shouldn't have done that thing we did, it's a good sign that we shouldn't do it in the future. Most of the time, the answers to these 2 questions will tell us if we should stay consistent with something. If you like this video, you will love my video book summary on Happy as well as Make It Stick. If you want to see even more on influence, check out the book for yourself or go on to part 4 in my series. The last part will go over the last rule of influence and why defending against these rules is so important in the modern age. As always, I hope you have a fantastic day and bye-bye!